Greetings, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Come Let Us Reason Together. I am your host, Yandea, and joining me, like always, is my co-host and brother, Duane.
Welcome
Duane,
back,
Wagwan.
everyone. What's up? What's up?
How are you, brother?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
You know, I'm good. I'm great.
Living, chilling, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, yes. I have no
hmm
complaints. It's been a very exciting day. I am like this close
Ooh.
to finishing the book, and
Ooh.
I anticipate it being up on Amazon extremely soon. I mean, don't know how long they're gonna take, but the last time that I got a book up there was it happened pretty quickly. So
Nice.
I'm gonna let you guys know obviously when it's available, but for sure, if not tonight, by tomorrow, it will be up there just waiting to finish up the process.
Mhm.
So yes, I'm very excited about that. And that book is called
Amazing.
Happy Rising Spirit. So I will talk once
Mhm.
it's out, I'll talk a little bit more about it. But for now, I just want to say, thank you to everyone who has been purchasing the other books and contacting me about mentorship and different things. It really is amazing when we can find a way to connect to each other,
Mhm.
whichever way possible. But it's really great to know that, you can put something out there and it can be helpful to people, and people are seeing their lives change and they're growing
Yes.
spiritually and connecting and having their own deep personal connections and relationship with Most High. So
Mhm.
that is like the most, for me, it's the most rewarding thing when I could see that my life is helping other
Yes.
people to also connect to Most High, to find their, their true self, you know?
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's always very good.
That's
So
so beautiful.
yes. Thank you to everyone
Congratulations,
watching,
my
watching
sister.
right now. We have a few people tuning in. I just want to say hello to everybody watching. I feel like people watch us and then they're shy sometimes to let us know that they're
Mm-hmm.
tuned in. So please, if you're tuned in, just put a little heart, a little something in the chat so that we could acknowledge you and say what's up. And I love to know where you're from. If you're watching right now, let us know where you're watching from. And we'll say hi. Tell us what the weather
Yes.
is. Like, I always like to know what the weather is in different places. I don't know why. I've always just liked to know that, what the weather's
Me
like.
too.
Yeah. So, that being said, we are going to dive in. Now, Duane, I know you don't know the question that I'm going to ask you today.
Mhm.
Um, yes, I know you don't know. I see your congratulations.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I know that you don't know the question I'm going to ask today, but it's okay because you like surprises. You love these on the spot surprises. So here we go. Um, Today's question, it's actually more like a topic, but it's
Ooh,
gonna be because
okay.
we'll both talk about it, obviously, but
Mhm.
I'm gonna pose it to you. So the topic is the cost of forgetting.
Mm.
And I know on Sunday you joined us on the Love Before the Fall series, which is on the
Mhm.
Love Story podcast every Sunday at 7:30. And you
Mhm.
were on there and you did so amazing. Well, I always love doing stuff like this with you, everything, but especially this type of stuff. And you were so great with your insights and everything that you shared. And one of the things we talked about was just, the whole idea of like forgetting, remembering,
Mhm.
right? But specifically,
Mhm.
we're talking about like the divine masculine.
Mhm.
That
Mhm.
was really a great episode. I encourage anyone who hasn't seen it to go to that. It's episode number 5, I believe, The Return of the
Yes.
Divine Masculine, right here on this
Yes.
channel. So you don't have to go far. Okay. It's under lives. Okay. You'll see it
Mhm.
episode 5. So along those lines, let's
Mhm.
talk a little bit about the cost of forgetting.
Mm.
Um, and maybe people may wonder, well, like forgetting what? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Forgetting what? My light just went out. There we go. right? I think I touched the plug. But yes, forgetting what, right? Forgetting yourself is the main thing that we want to talk about, right? Forgetting yourself. What does it cost? What is the cost of forgetting? Forgetting who you are, forgetting where you're from, forgetting your own lessons that you've learned in life. Just forgetting. What is the cost of forgetting? And then let's touch on a little bit about remembering the grace that's there, when we come into that place of remembrance. So my question to you would be, what happens? We'll just put it generic first. What happens to a soul, a people, a planet when they forget who they are? And what begins to shift the moment that they remember? So I'm going to ask you first, maybe even personally, if you could think, have you encountered a time in your life where you just did not remember who you were, or you forgot who you were? Do you feel like you've always remembered who you were?
Not at all.
And what was the cost of not remembering?
Well, the cost of not remembering is aimlessness, it's a journey which, some might say is kind of purposeless, but if you eventually you get to the place of remembering, then there is purpose even in that. But it's a journey of like just aimlessly wandering and trying to find yourself in different things. And the issue is then you leave it up to other people to tell you who you are. And you leave it up to other people to define what your life is, you know what I mean? What you're worth. And then that leaves you vulnerable to control, to manipulation, to enslavement, to all of the horrible things that are part of the experience on planet Earth that we wouldn't want anyone to have to experience. So it's very much a downward spiral. Unless you're able to eventually come to that place of remembrance, and then it all becomes worthwhile, But yeah, I definitely don't think that I necessarily, I'm trying to think back to maybe as a child, I had like that sense of isness of who I am. Actually, it was pretty strongly defined. Sometimes I doubt some of my like childhood experiences as like where exactly that came from. But like I do remember as a child, like a very definite like I amness that I had. And then, going through life circumstances, going through, again, like we talked about last week, realizing how different you are from other people, wanting to fit in with other people, and, compromise, and you lose yourself in that process, until you realize that you can never be other people. And even when you attempt to be other people, it doesn't really bring any benefit to yourself or to others. So I definitely, have had a feeling of being lost for like, many, many years of my life. And even now I'm on that journey of remembrance. So I'm waking up. It's still a process, like there's more and more parts of myself to uncover, more parts of myself to remember. But I can tap into that I amness, I can, and I get to learn every day who I am and who I'm not, and, what I can and will not do. And like, life tends to bring you the experiences that help, you to define those things for yourself as well. Yeah.
I definitely agree. Duane, sorry, before I go on, can you tell me if you could hear me? Because my Volume
Yeah, I
just
can hear you
19
perfectly.
now. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, how did you come? Because you talked, you kind of talked about everything,
Mm-hmm.
but I want to just bring you back to, okay, you said it kind of is all worthwhile when you do return, when you do remember.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
how do you go from forgetting to remembering? And before we even go into how you go from forgetting to remembering, what caused you to forget? How do you know that you forgot? How can
Mm-hmm.
somebody, like, let's just pretend like people are watching, right? And they're like,
Mm-hmm.
what do they mean they forgot? Like, what do you
Mm-hmm.
mean remember? Remember what? So
Mm-hmm.
for someone to realize like, oh, I remember that, that means there had to be a time when they had that knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've forgotten in your in your in the years or the days that you did not remember, you were
Mm-hmm.
totally oblivious that there was something that you didn't remember.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, perhaps, I'm just saying,
Mm-hmm.
right? You
Mm-hmm.
could be totally oblivious until the day that you remember.
Mm-hmm.
And then the day that you remember, you realize this is something you've always known.
Right.
So I guess my question is, like, how can somebody know if there's something that they're forgetting if they don't even realize that they have forgotten it?
Mm-hmm.
What were some ways that you knew that there was something that you had forgotten?
Mm-hmm.
Was there anything that you could, like, you know, tell us to like help people figure out, oh, maybe this thing that I'm experiencing, it really is that I'm forgetting something or that there is something I've forgotten? Like, can you go
Mm-hmm.
back to that feeling maybe from a young boy that you had or even like as an adult?
Mm-hmm.
Like what made you know that there was something that you were not remembering?
Right. Well, your life will tell you. If you look at your journey, if you look at, the fruits that you've bore along the way, if you ever feel like you don't know what your purpose is, or you don't know why you're here, or you feel like a feeling of being lost, or maybe you're so caught up in work and other aspects of life that you don't even take the time to, but spirit is always present, always. We might not always be conscious or aware of that presence, but it's always there. And you're gonna have nights where you're restless, where you're feeling like my life isn't, something's missing, something's off. Like you're going to feel like um the days are just going one after the other and nothing's really, like there's no flow, there's no purpose, there's no drive, there's no, you know, yeah. So I can only speak for myself, but that was my experience of feeling like something's missing, even if I don't know what that thing is. I
Yeah.
I can feel enough to know something's missing,
Yeah. Yeah.
why I forgot, I think a lot of that has to do with programming. From a very young age, you're taught what the world is, you're taught
Mm-hmm.
how things are. You get taught in your family, you get taught when you go to school, you get taught when you go to church,
Mm-hmm.
you get taught when you go to work, whatever the case may be. So you're always being told.
Mm-hmm.
There's rarely, it's very rare nowadays to have someone who didn't go through that process of being programmed and was actually, their inquiries were made instead. Things were being brought out. Like that's how it should be, but that's not how it is. Even just coming to live, as a baby, coming to live on this planet, the
Mm-hmm.
process of incarnation is very, it's a very dense world that we're coming into. So it's very easy to forget. And, especially when you're like a young child going into adolescence,
Mm-hmm.
teenagehood, where like you're under the influence of so many different things and like You don't, you want to be something, or you want to, fit in, or you want to, like, yeah, like school feels like the entire world when you're in that age, you know what I mean? Everything feels so important. So yeah, I can definitely see how, in a way, the way that we have set up the progress of life, at least in a North American society, is that it's designed to program you. It's designed for you to lose yourself. And so if you're not like constantly staying connected, if you're not reminding yourself every day, in every moment, it's easy. It is easy to forget.
Oh yeah, because it's literally like you said, it's programmed. The whole system
Mm-hmm.
is set up to always, first of all, unless you have like grown up in some culture that openly speaks about like reincarnation or something,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody kind of receives that programming like when you come into this world, it's your first time
Mm-hmm.
existing. Like you don't
Yes.
exist until you enter into your well, you're not even entering into your mother's belly because
Right.
where are you entering from?
Right.
Right? Like where are you entering from? So we have
Mm-hmm.
to like the program is not even like a spirit is gonna enter into the mother's belly
Right.
and possess this flesh body that's the baby. No, it's
Mm-hmm.
that you are like your consciousness is this baby's body.
Yes.
Like you are, your awareness is this baby's body. You are the
Mm-hmm.
body.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you are the body, then you only came into existence when this, sperm and egg, and then all this division,
Mm-hmm.
and then all the creation, the
Mm-hmm.
fetus, da, 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 and then 9 months or whatever, and 42 weeks. And then
Right.
into that, here comes the baby. And that baby is you.
Right.
And everything, in life is just pointing to that's the story,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you don't really have, and like I said, unless your culture or your family is ones who believe in like ancestors returning or like
Yes.
spirits or whatever the case is,
Mm-hmm.
like you're pretty much that's it. That's your beginning right there. And that's
Yes.
what is there to remember. There's nothing to remember.
Right.
And so if you have a society where the majority of people, especially being over here in the West, have that belief, like it only started right here, when I took my first breath or whatever the case
Mm-hmm.
may be,
Mm-hmm.
um, then nobody really, even if you have a little nagging feeling, you
Mm-hmm.
can't pinpoint the nagging feeling to information that you may have
Yes.
received before that moment,
Yes.
right? You can't, you feel it, but you can't.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, maybe it's because of I'm trying to remember what spirit said to me before I came into this belly. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like maybe that's what it is that's nagging. Because, for example, the other day I went to the store
Mm-hmm.
and I called my son. I was at the store with my husband, and I called my son because I was like, babe, I can't remember what I know I need something at the store, but I cannot remember what I need at the store. Let me
Mm-hmm.
call my son. So I called him and I was like, do you remember what I was saying I needed at the store, whatever? And we went through some things, and then I was like, oh, okay, I understand. That's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, I only have that nagging feeling of what is it that I needed at the store? Because there was a moment before that that
Mm-hmm.
I made a note. Oh, by the way, you need this, you need that.
Yeah.
So next time you go to the store, don't forget. See,
Yes.
I had some form of an interaction, some form of an experience, some form of
Mm-hmm.
a something, some encounter. I had something before that
Yes.
moment where I walked into the store.
Yes.
So it's only because I had that previous encounter
Yes.
that when I walked into the store, there was something in me, a little voice,
Mm-hmm.
little something. Hey, don't forget you need that thing from the store.
Right.
That little voice is my own voice.
Exactly.
Because when that thing was happening, I said to myself, Next time you go to the store, remember you need to get something. Don't forget that next time you go to the store. I got into the store, and here comes myself reminding me, hey, you're at the store. Don't forget, you said you needed that thing. What is that thing? Man, if only I made a better note.
Right.
If only I found a way, right? Because sometimes it could be days or weeks when you made that note.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean it's going to happen the same day, right? So in my case, I remembered that when I remembered what I needed at the store, my son was there and there was a conversation. So I could have, oh, I forget, but let me contact my son because he would remember because we were having a conversation about it, right? And I think this is the same thing that happens with us. We come into this world and there's no one is talking to us about what we remember. No one is talking to us, hey, do you remember why you came to this earth? Do you remember like not even do you remember like why did you come? Right? We're not even having these discussions with children. Hey, tell me, why are you here? What is it that you're gonna be here and do? We don't even have these conversations with them. And so at a certain point, we start, we enter the store being the world. Now we're no longer children. We can make our own moves, whatever that might be as a teenager, it may be as an adult. Now you're in the store where it's like, okay, I could get what I want here. Come here for again? I know I came here for something. Because really now I'm really here. I've gone through the front doors. I've driven through toddler, infants, adolescence, teenage, boom. Now I'm an adult. I'm at the store. I got my money in my pocket. Oh, what did I need?
Such a great metaphor.
Yeah, what did I need again? Why did I come here again? I came here for something. I did all of this traveling to get here for something. And so sometimes we end up going down the aisles, hoping that something we see will trigger our memory.
Yeah. And here goes the salesman. Hey, we have 10% off of this or that or whatever.
Or they're always going to tell you a credit card.
Yes. And then you get distracted and you don't remember why you actually came.
Exactly. And what you said there, here comes the salesman. That salesman knows that most likely the thing they're selling you is not what you came to the store for. But they're going to try to get you to buy into it. And so when you're saying like there are people who try to tell you what your purpose is, there are people who try to tell you, to give you what they want you to remember, which is not what you actually have to remember. Hey, come on, I'm sure you need that, 19% credit card or whatever. They always want to sell you some high interest card at the store or to try something or whatever they're trying to get in, right? They're trying to get in there. And so, but if you remember, hey, I got a budget, energy, right? My money is my energy. And I have this limited amount of energy to purchase exactly what I need at this store because I have a purpose. I'm going to purchase these things. I'm going to make something. Or it's going to sustain me, or it's going to bless others, whatever the case may be. You have your list and you have your money allocated to these things. When this salesman comes like, hey, don't you want to purchase this? It doesn't matter if it's on sale. It doesn't matter how good of a deal it is. You're like, no, that's not on my list. Nope, I don't, nope, I have no space for this. And I have to do this shopping in this much time. Right? So I gotta be focused, go to the aisles I need to go to, pick up the things I need to pick up, and then leave. Cash out and leave. And so many of us, we get into the store, we don't remember why we came to the store. We may remember some things, but then it nags us because it's like, oh my gosh, I swear it's like the most important thing. Because if I'm going to make a cake and I pull all the ingredients, but I forget flour, I can't make the cake. And so within ourselves, we're like, man, I know, yes, I've done this, I've done that, but there is something, because I don't feel complete. I don't feel
Yes.
fulfilled. I don't feel right in myself. What is it that I've forgotten? And
Mhm.
we walk down the aisles in hopes to be triggered.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's like you walk down the aisle and you meet somebody, you're like, something about that person. There's a connection
Exactly.
there. There's a connection there.
Yes.
Or you're listening
Yes.
to something as someone's NDE experience,
Yep.
and you're like, whoa, whoa, what did that girl just say? What did that guy just say? That just hit me
Mm-hmm.
so deep in my spirit. That just
Yes.
resonated so deep within me. It's almost like
Yes.
I was saying it myself. Or I
Mm-hmm.
say this all the time. I've never heard somebody outside of myself say this.
Say
So then, boom,
this.
you have a trigger. You have a something resonating with you.
Yes.
You start remembering. Oh, I came for bread. Oh, I came for. Oh, right,
Mm-hmm.
right, right. I wanted to make a cake. That's what I said. Okay, and now you start deliberately.
Yes.
What am I doing here? I'm in the alcohol aisle. I came to make some bread. Wrong aisle.
Right. Right.
Change directions and you end up going to
Mhm.
put yourself back on track. So
Yes.
remembering is so important, because when we don't remember, we find ourselves going down aisles that can be the wrong aisles, looking and hoping
Yes.
for triggers. But
Yes.
there are also people along those aisles that aren't trying to trigger us to remember us. They're trying
No.
to trigger us to distract us because they want our energy.
Exactly.
It's all about getting our energy,
Yeah.
right? They want something from you. They want your
Mm.
energy. Your energy is your time. It's your
Yep.
attention. It's your money too. It's all
Mm-hmm.
of that, but it's your life force. They want it from you. The longer they hold your attention, the better it
Mm.
is, right?
Yes.
And so it's so important for us to come to the place of remembering. And
Yes.
even sometimes for me, like I never wanted to do YouTube. Remember in the beginning, I didn't want,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because it was like these social media things are these platforms are such a distraction to people waking up and remember,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
being focused and this and that. And then eventually, Spirit was like, I'll use this example. Do you want to let them keep wandering down aisles, being distracted by people who don't care about them remembering what they came in the store for?
Right.
Or do you want to situate yourself in the aisle and help them remember?
Exactly.
So I know that social media and different, not only social, so many things in
Mm-hmm.
this world are literally
Mm-hmm.
created to distract people, and stop them from remembering. But I hope that this
Mm.
podcast and the other videos and whatever it is that we do, even if
Yeah.
I do on my own other platforms,
Yes.
my hope is always that something in my voice, something in my spirit, something in the light,
Mm-hmm.
something I say
Mm-hmm.
will help
Yes.
people remember what they came.
Yes.
That's the hope.
That is it.
That's the hope.
Yes.
And
Yep.
so it's like, if we can come to the place where we all remember, then
Mhm.
then no one has to get anything more from us than we want to give.
This is it.
You get what I'm saying?
This is
That's the
it.
thing. It's one thing if you want to
Yes.
give it. It's another thing if you're coerced into it, if you have no
Mm-hmm.
other choice, if you're
Mm-hmm.
rich, if you're this, if you're that,
Yes.
whole other story.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's my little take on that. I do have
Said that so well.
but it's the truth, right? It's the
Yeah.
truth because
Yeah.
we really don't understand. Like we come to earth, and I tell people this too. It's coming to me another part, because that grocery analogy, I could take credit
It's
for.
perfect.
Spirit gave
It's
it to me.
perfect.
Like
Yeah.
um sometimes people talk to me about their thoughts, and
Mm-hmm.
I use the same grocery store, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, listen, you can go to the grocery store. You have a
Mm-hmm.
cart, and you can put all these things in your cart, right? You could all these things go
Yeah.
into your cart. You could put them all in your cart.
Mm-hmm.
It's really not, you really haven't spent any dangerous
Mm-hmm.
energy on it. One, until you pay for it,
Yes.
but really too, until you eat that thing.
Yes. Yes.
You get what I'm saying? So say
Mm-hmm.
you go to the store and you put some things that are unhealthy in your cart.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it really sucks that you paid for that. You've lost some energy there.
Mm-hmm.
But you will really lose energy when you consume that thing because of
Mm-hmm.
the effects it's going to now have on your body, on your mind, you know, this and that.
Right. Right.
So that's kind of how it is with thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like there are thoughts floating around, all around,
Everywhere.
right?
Yes.
Like, man, you can just, there could be a certain if you think of it just like, you know, you have like radio waves,
Yes.
right? And the same way, like a radio could be tuned in and it could pick up a certain station. It could,
Mm-hmm.
whatever the case is, you change channel, change channel. Well,
Mm-hmm.
those are like aisles in the grocery store,
Mm-hmm.
right? All the essential stuff is on the outside.
Hmm.
That's your highest frequency. All
Yes.
your fruits, your
Yes.
vegetables, your this, all your stuff is
Yes.
on the outside.
Yes.
That's your high
That's
frequency.
so interesting. Yeah. The
That's
fruits, the vegetables, the meat, the dairy,
all
like all
all
of
all your
the pure
essential stuff.
fruits.
Yes, you can enter
Yes.
the grocery store and only walk the outside aisles and leave.
Yes. Yes.
When you start going in the in between, then you're getting stuck
That's
in
the processed food.
getting into the
Yeah.
processed stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, so then that's your high frequency. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's your good thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You may have some good thoughts scattered about, but it's scattered. You know what I'm saying? All the
Yes.
shelves is scattered.
Yes.
And so you go into the grocery store, you go around the outside aisles, but then as you're going around, you're like, ooh, what's that? Is that a new chips? Is that
Hmm.
is that salsa? Salsa always gets me. I love salsa,
Yes.
Tostitos. But you know, so and so I go, oh, what is that? Oh, is that's a new there's something there. Oh yeah, I forgot I needed syrup.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I forgot. You
Right.
know,
Right.
did you really?
Did you really?
So then you end up seeing all these other things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then you purchase and then you or you put in your cart, you put in your cart, and you're like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm gonna buy this. But you, you know, like I was saying, that's how it is with thoughts. Until you
Mm-hmm.
consume it, until you make
Mm-hmm.
it part of you,
Yeah.
it's not yours yet.
Yes.
Yes, you have it, you could purchase it, but
Mm-hmm.
until you take it in. And
Yeah.
so sometimes people condemn themselves because a thought went through their mind.
Mm. Mm.
No, you're just in the grocery store. You passed down the
Mm.
aisle. You just walked through the
Mm-hmm.
aisle. You know what I'm saying? You did not, did you consume the thought? How do
Right.
you consume the thought? By meditating on it.
Mm.
When you stay and you let that, you know, you what is it? You ruminate, you're just
Mm-hmm.
saying this thing over, then you're consuming it. You're
Yeah.
spending all your time and energy on it. You're there, you're becoming,
Right.
you're joining in with that thing, right?
Right. Right.
So that's that's how it is in life. You're moving through life because I feel like a lot of people, we're talking about forgetting and remembering.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
A lot of people condemn themselves because they
Yes.
have a thought. So for example, they're on their
Yes.
journey, oh, I'm ascending, I'm doing so well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they
Mm-hmm.
get a thought in their head, a bad thought maybe someone, you know, cuts them off and then they're like, ah, I wish that person just went into the ditch.
Mm-hmm.
He just
Mm-hmm.
say something terrible. And then the whole, oh, I can't believe it. I can't believe I'm just like had that thought. And
Mm.
then they stay in this, like they're condemning themselves the whole way. I thought I was so elevated and I'm not, and whatever.
Mm.
And it's like, okay, well, now there's two things you have to worry about.
Mm.
The danger there is not in the first thought that was
Mm.
leading thought. The
Mm.
dangerous thought is this one that you're now having,
Mm.
is this one
Wow.
that you're stuck in.
Wow.
You know what
Wow.
I'm saying?
Yes.
Because this one now,
Oof.
you're back in the alcohol aisle.
Yes.
You're in the pharmacy getting
Mm-hmm.
pharmaceuticals, right?
Mm-hmm.
That you don't need. You get what I'm
Right.
saying? That you don't,
Right.
right? And so
Right.
what I mean by that is, even if you look at medicine not
Mm-hmm.
being medicine,
Yep.
alcohol, right? Everything has its
Mm-hmm.
time, everything has its amounts and so on.
Mm-hmm.
We're
Mm-hmm.
talking about indulgence, right? That's what I'm saying,
Yes.
playing with these thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
So the same way that someone will go through having one of these negative thoughts about
Mm-hmm.
themselves now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like a way, okay, if I tell myself these things, negative things about myself, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like that must be, there's some kind of like righteousness or hope in saying,
Mm-hmm.
oh man, look at you. You're supposed to be better than that. Like, poor
Mm-hmm.
person, like, how dare you think that about them or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're
Mm-hmm.
just condemning yourself for this thought,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
condemning yourself from this thought. So what spirit is that? That's why I said alcohol. What spirit is that?
Right. Right.
Now you're getting drunk in this whole idea of you not
Mm-hmm.
being good enough. Maybe your whole
Mm-hmm.
journey was fake, maybe this, maybe that. And now
Mm-hmm.
you start what? Doubting everything about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm not really truly of the light. Maybe I'm
Mm-hmm.
darkness. Maybe you start going through this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then some people would say it's medicine, right?
Yeah.
To do this to yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's like kind of like back in the day when someone did something wrong and then they would take these things and hit themselves on, like,
Yes.
themselves, you know what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
So it's like some of us have it in our mind because of
Mm.
how we were brought up, back to forgetting. Anytime we do something bad, there's a punishment,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's a physical punishment or we hear words that put us down.
Mm-hmm.
And these words are somehow supposed to end up encouraging us to do better.
Right.
Do you get what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So we have to really be able to look at, on this process of remembering who we
Mm-hmm.
are. We have to see that the energy, back to being in the store,
Mm-hmm.
is always ours.
Hmm.
So you have the right to purchase that thing if you want to or not. But you
Mm-hmm.
could get all the way up to the cash register and you could decide, you know what? I know I put all these things in my cart, but I'm just gonna buy
Yeah.
this thing. I'm sorry, you're gonna have
Yeah.
to put that away.
Yep.
But I'm just
Yep.
gonna buy this one thing.
Facts.
That energy is your energy. You
Yeah.
decide how you're gonna spend that energy.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that you came into this world knowing.
Mm-hmm.
Along the way, systems and people,
Mm-hmm.
people in the systems, uh, also people who are enslaved to the system, have
Right.
have led you to believe that
Mm-hmm.
somehow your energy is not yours,
Mm-hmm.
right? So some people would say, oh, I feel so bad. You know what? I brought all these things up. I'm just gonna buy them,
Yeah.
right? You don't have
Right.
to. You don't have to. It's almost like when you're getting married. Up until
Mm.
you say I do, you can walk away from that marriage. You can walk away.
Yep.
You don't have to, oh, sorry, you spent all the money on food and clothes, but you don't have to go through with it.
Right.
You could bring that thing all the way home.
Mm-hmm.
You still don't have to eat it. You still
Yeah.
don't have to consume.
You could
You
put
get
it
what
in
I'm
the
saying?
trash.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, for example, you can say, I do. You can marry
Mm-hmm.
that woman. But if
Mm-hmm.
that marriage isn't consummated, you guys ain't
Facts.
married.
Facts.
It's not until you take that thing into yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
not until you take that thought into yourself
Mm-hmm.
and you
Mm-hmm.
start ruminating on that thought, you start meditating on that thought, you make it become your truth,
Mm-hmm.
then it takes hold of you.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've
Mm.
given it power over you. You've
Right.
given it your energy. You've purchased it and you've
Right.
consumed it.
Yep.
So when we look back at, like, how have we forgotten? The first
Mm-hmm.
thing is to make us feel as if we don't have the power, to
Mm-hmm.
make us feel as if we don't have the power over our own life force. Could you imagine our own life force?
Mm. Yeah.
What do you want to do with your life? What do you want to be? Oh, I want to be whatever. And then, no, you can't be that. Pick something else. Pick something else. Something
Yeah.
more life consuming. Pick
Yeah.
something else. Pick something else that's going to take all your time and energy away
Yes.
from yourself and your family, and pick
Yes.
something else. Be on call. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Pick something else,
Yeah.
right? The best jobs when you're little, the best jobs that people always bring up are the ones that have you feeling the most tired, the ones that
Mm-hmm.
have you um putting
Trained.
way more time and energy into the system of quote unquote schooling, the
Mm-hmm.
ones that have like, just look at it, all of the things that when you're little, that oh, are you a doctor, are you a
Yeah.
lawyer, are you a
Yeah.
this, are you, it's always
Mm-hmm.
the things that at the end of the day you will literally not have the time and energy to
Yep.
be able to just live.
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
eventually, if you're a successful doctor, a successful
Right.
lawyer, you
Right.
may have enough money to do
Mm-hmm.
XYZ. But at
Mm.
that point, there's so many things you have to contend with.
Yeah.
You have to be a part of this board and that board. And if you don't agree with the way they're doing it, you're gonna lose your license.
Absolutely.
How do you remain a lawyer that is not gonna see injustice done by judges, by other, like, see things, see innocent people go to jail and go to bed and just sleep at night because it's not
Right.
your client? How can you be so close to it and be unbothered?
Right.
Those sorts of things are going to bother your soul. People, I believe, there are people who are called to
Mm-hmm.
be in these places, but there's a grace for them
Yeah.
because that's what
Agreed.
they're called to. That
Yeah.
they're called, so that's not going to be no stress on them. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying across the board, all children, it's like, don't you want to be a doctor? Don't you want to be a lawyer? Don't you
Right.
want to be, right?
Yep.
So children aren't asked, and it's not left there. What do you
Mm-hmm.
want to be when you grow up?
Right.
What did you come to this earth to be?
Yeah.
They may give an answer. Oh, mom, I just want to draw. I just want to paint. No, you can't just
Right.
paint. I just want to sing, mom. I want to be a ballerina. I want to be whatever. It's
Right.
like, you know what? No, we can't afford that, or whatever the case may be. You
Right.
get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe there are your odd children out there who have, that sort of support. I'm striving to do that for
Mm-hmm.
my children,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of, where I am in life. That's my thing because I know how
Exactly.
important that is. But even for
Yeah.
me, who had parents that were well off, I didn't get those options. And my parents were
Facts.
very well off.
Yep.
And still, I didn't get that option of, oh, mom, I want to do this, I want to do that. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
if you want our support, you're over
There it
here. These
is.
are your choices.
There
You
it
get what I'm
is.
saying? And
Yep.
that, it was like that with all of my friends. Everybody, maybe it's just the time I grew up. I'm 42. Maybe it's just
Yeah.
the age, but you know what I mean? And
I
so,
agree.
yeah, was it like that for you also, Duane?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's like, I of course I wanted to be an artist and all of this kind of stuff. And my siblings, so many people thought I was going to art school, but yeah, no, that wasn't an option. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's nuts. So,
Yeah.
I mean, but at the end of the day, here we are, and we're adults, and
Yes.
we're finding our way still to be and to do the things that we remember we came
Yeah.
to this planet to do,
To do.
right?
Hmm.
But again, along the way, it's easy to allow our own thoughts. And that's why I want to talk about, okay, remembering what you came for, but you may
Hmm.
remember what you came for. But if along the way
Hmm.
you stumble,
Hmm.
the mistake is not in the stumbling.
Hmm.
The mistake is in what you do. It's how you respond. That's what I was trying to say.
Yes.
It's really
Yes.
the after thing. It's if it do you
Yeah.
stumble, you beating up yourself for a week, that's
Mm-hmm.
doing more damage to you than
Then
whatever
the
you ever
stumble.
did could have done.
Right.
You did something wrong to someone, you realize it. Staying and
Mm-hmm.
beating yourself up is worse than what you just did to the person. Just simply go to them, acknowledge you're wrong, sincerely apologize.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Whether they want to accept it or not has nothing to do with you. You
Yeah.
realize you're wrong, you go and you apologize.
Yeah.
You pass someone on the road, they cut you off, you cuss them off. You realize after when you got home, oh, maybe that was a little bit rough. Okay, forgive yourself and go on with your day.
Yeah.
Just make a note to yourself, hey, why was I so upset? Maybe there's something going on within me. Deal with that and then
Mm-hmm.
go on. Be better next time.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. So staying and just
Punishing yourself.
punishing ourselves when we stumble along the way, that is the sin.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the sin because that is not love.
Love.
That's why making a
Mm-hmm.
mistake, even if you knew better, making a mistake
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that you've fallen off track. It doesn't mean that you're sinful because you made a
Mm-hmm.
mistake. It's
Mm-hmm.
what you do after you make the mistake that determines which path you're on. Are you walking in
Right.
righteousness? Are you walking away?
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. So a lot of people in the process of remembering who they are, they have an idea. They start remembering and they're like, oh, okay. They start creating an image of, they think, they start helping it, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're creating an
Mm-hmm.
image of, oh, okay, then, oh, this is what it must look like to be spiritual. This is what it must look
Mm-hmm.
to ascend. This is what it must look like to be holy. And they
Yeah.
start creating an image. Then, whenever they fall off from that
Mm-hmm.
image that they're building in their mind, which is a false god, by the way. So when
Yeah.
they start falling away from that image, then they start doing this judgment thing,
Yeah.
right? And
Hmm.
I personally feel that it is the grace of Most High
Mm.
that we fall.
Mm.
In my life,
Talk about that.
I think it's the grace of Most High. All of my slipping and sliding, I
Mm.
think that was as much grace to slip and slide as it was to get up after I fell.
Mm.
Because I'll tell you what, if I didn't slip and slide on my journey to remembering,
Mm.
then I would have had a false idea of the love of God.
Mm. Yes.
I would
Yeah.
have believed that the love of God was dependent or measured on how well
Mm.
I walk straight,
Mm.
when it's not dependent on that at all. Whether I walk straight, crooked, roll, sit down, don't ever move, does
Mm.
not change the love of God. And it took
Yeah.
me slipping and sliding to come to understand that whether I'm on top of the mountain or I'm
Mm.
below it, the love of God never changes. It's always the same. It's always steadfast.
Yeah.
If I never slipped and slide, then I would think that if I was climbing on top of the mountain and not falling, and someone else was falling, I may have thought to myself, ooh, maybe God doesn't love that person anymore.
Right.
Or
Right.
God loves me more because I haven't slipped. And God loves
Right.
them less because this is the 50th time that they slipped.
Right.
But because I too slipped, and in my slipping, that love never wavered.
Yeah.
I fell and got up again, fell and got up again, and God's love stayed
Mm.
steady. I always tell people, very different from parents,
Mm.
the love of Most High from the beginning of time. And this is my first remembrance. This is my
Mm.
first knowing that before I ever manifested even into my first awareness,
Mm.
there was love.
Mm.
Before I had my sight, before I
Yes.
had my breath, before I had my knowing and awareness of who I am, I had the awareness of the love of Most High.
Mm.
And it didn't matter what incarnation, what lifetime, what timeline, what body I took. It didn't matter. It
Mm.
never changed. It didn't matter if in one life I was so-called better than the other. It never changed. The
Right.
constant thing, the only thing that is everlasting and unchanging and unconditional is the love of Most High. So that's the first remembrance. That's my first remembrance. And from that first remembrance, it just kept unlocking, unlocking, unlocking. Because every time I had doubt, I remembered that love. And then it cleared the path. And every time I stumbled and fell, I remembered the love and then it picked me up. You
Mm.
see, it's like that is the key thing. That's
Mm.
the wind. That's the oars in the boat. That's the that's the wind. That's the sail. It's the boat. It's the water.
Mm-hmm.
It's the everything.
It's everything.
And I'm just the person in the boat. You
Hmm.
get what I mean? So it doesn't matter then what you would do or what you will not do. There is nothing that you can do to make Most High love you more. There is
Mm.
nothing that you can do that would make Most High love you less.
That's right.
And in there is the freedom to remember who you are. In there, and meditate on that if you don't understand what I'm saying. In there is the freedom to remember who you are. There is nothing that you can do to get more love from God, and there is nothing that you could do to cause you to get less love from God. Absolutely nothing. So try to be the best person that you can be. God will not love you more for it.
Mm.
Be the worst person that you could be. God will not love you less.
Yes.
What you do does not change the nature of God because God is. God is. God is love. So God cannot be changed based on your desire, based on your will, based on your
Mm.
actions. He is the God that changes not. God changes not. God is love always,
Yeah.
in all ways. So you are free to remember who you are,
Mm.
because regardless of who you are, it does not change who God is.
That's it.
So just be.
Mm.
Just be. You don't have to try to remember. You just have to stop forgetting.
Hmm.
You get what I mean? You don't have to
Mm-hmm.
try to remember. You just have to stop forgetting. And
Mm.
every day, things are happening around you to cause you to forget who you are. So just stop forgetting. Stop going along the path of forgetfulness. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Stop doing things that you don't like to do. Stop pretending to be a person that you're not. All
Mm.
of the things, every time you do something that's not you, it causes who you are. So if you stop doing and being who you, then you'll just be left with yourself.
Mm. Yeah.
You see what I mean? You'll just be
Mm-hmm.
left with you.
Mm.
Let the friends fall away who don't like you. Let the people come who like you. Just
Mm-hmm.
allow it to happen. Just stand in who you are. Just like Most High is, you just be that too.
Mm.
Just be in your isness.
Mm-hmm.
Just be. Because whoever it is that you are in the true essence of yourself, the real you is the reason why nothing you can do can move God to love you more, love you less. Because the real you gets that kind of love.
Yeah.
The real you is someone who can be loved unconditionally. But you won't know that unless you come again to remember who you are. And you remember by stopping this forgetfulness. And you're forgetting because you're continually pretending to be someone who you're not. You're picking up these masks, you're picking up these things, you're constantly doing, constantly trying and doing to be and to fill in and to just stop and just be. Allow yourself to see yourself, you know? Yeah. I think this is really a time where we always hear about the Great Awakening. The Great Awakening is people waking up to who they are, remembering the amnesia, you know, coming to a standstill, dissipating. When we all remember who we are, we will look at each other and we will see ourselves clearly in each other. And we will have nothing but love and appreciation for what we have the same and what we have different, you know? Because we do have more in common than we have different, but the things we have different are amazing. They make us unique, they make us special, right? So, you know, the things about you, Duane, that are different, I love it. I love the difference. You know, we laugh about our differences all the time. And we laugh about the things that we that we have in common all the time.
That's it.
You know what I mean? We can be different and love our differences.
Yes.
You know, so allow yourself to be loved. Allow yourself to be seen for who you are so that those who love you can love you and not who you're pretending to be. Because you will always know that the people around you are loving you because whatever you're giving them is fake. And you'll always be afraid that you showed them who you really were. They won't be there because all these years, all this time, they've thought you were a person. But don't you deserve to be loved for who you actually are? Right? But how can that happen if you are not ever showing who you are?
Who you actually are. Yeah.
Even if it's one person who will love you for who you are, it's better to have one person love you for who you actually are than to have 10 million love you for who you're pretending to be.
Yeah.
It's a lonely, lonely world. You'll be surrounded by millions of people and you'll be the loneliest person in this world.
Yeah.
So I encourage you, if you're hearing the sound of my voice, I would love to see who you are. I would love to know who you are. I think the whole world, and I'm not saying who you truly actually are, Most High breath made flesh. So stop being afraid of your own light and shine. Okay? Stop being afraid of your own light and shine. Look in the mirror and see yourself. See beyond the pain, the trauma, what the outside. Allow yourself to remember you are someone who is loved regardless of what you do or what you don't do. It doesn't change the love of Most High. And that's what I got for today, Duane. I said that's the message that's just playing over and over in my mind.
Yeah.
Over and over in my mind.
I'm so glad that that was recorded. I'm so happy that that was recorded. Because that's definitely a message for this time right now. Yeah.
I think so.
That.
I believe that. Well, if this message has reached your heart, You could send us a message, let Duane and I know. It's all about not forgetting, remembering, allowing yourself to receive the love of Most High deep in your heart. No, there is nothing that you need to do to be worthy of it. You are worthy of it because God is love. And you are of God because you are the breath of God made flesh. Okay? So so that being said, Duane, I think that's it for me. Do you have any last words?
That's so beautiful. I received that message for myself, and I hope that as many people can watch this, hear this, that they can receive that for themselves. And we send out a prayer, for
Yes.
all of you that hear this, to receive it, to remember, to receive the trigger, and to wake up into the remembrance of all of who you are. Because as Yandea said, the whole world is waiting for
That's right.
you.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
And
That
we
is
love you.
right. So that being said, we will see you again next Thursday.
Thursday,
Next Thursday,
7:30-ish.
7:30-ish. Next Thursday, 7:30-ish. And also, if you're able to tune in on Sunday at 7:30 for our sixth episode of Love Before the Fall. We have 7 episodes, so we're already on episode number 6. And please
What's
join
the topic of this episode?
the topic, I
Drop us a
believe,
little.
is I think it's divine union. I think it's talking
Ooh.
about divine union, what that looks like, what that would look like now in today's. I think that's what it is. I'm pretty sure. Something along those lines.
Okay.
But pop in there 7:30 on Sunday
It's gonna
and
be
we'll see you.
juicy.
It's gonna be really juicy. Duane, are you gonna join us?
If you guys are happy to have me, I'm happy to be there.
Oh, yeah,
So
I'm happy to have you.
yeah.
For sure, for sure. And yeah, so we'll see you again next Thursday here for Come Let Us Reason, and we'll see you on Sunday at 7:30 for another episode of Love Behind the Fall. Love Before the Fall. Oh, Love
Before
Behind
the
the
fall.
Fall. But Love
Ooh,
Behind the Fall.
love
Ooh,
behind the fall.
Love Behind the Fall. That's
That could be like part 2.
like the next part, Love
The
Behind.
next part,
Like,
because you have the love before the
mm,
fall, but
then the
now
love
that
that
the fall is happening, but there's still the love behind the fall that we need to tap
like that
into,
grace. It's like that grace that I'm talking about. Like while I was slipping, the love
Yes.
was there. Mm,
Yes.
you
Ooh.
understand? That's right.
Second
See?
series. You heard it here first.
You heard it here first. Love you guys. Please comment, like, share. Thank you for subscribing. Love you guys. Have a good rest of your week.
Much
Bye-bye.
love.